Hi there, thanks for listening into this online talk about managing anger. I'm Sophie and I'm a Senior Wellbeing Practitioner at Centre 33. Today we're going to be focusing on different strategies we can use to manage feeling angry. This is part 2 of the series about anger, and we would encourage you to watch part 1, which is about understanding anger, alongside this talk. So in terms of what we're going to be covering today, we're going to be thinking about triggers for anger, about managing thoughts around anger and different ways of managing angry feelings. We'll also look at assertiveness as a way of being able to communicate our needs. And finally, we will look at self-care tips that hopefully will support you in reducing angry feelings. At the end, we will signpost to other organisations where you can get further support, as well as remind you about the support we offer at Centre 33. So one way of thinking about anger is to think of it a bit like a bomb, where the explosion represents your reactions. There are various reactions you may have when you're angry. You may have various thoughts about the situation that has made you angry. You can also have physical feelings about the situation, and you may notice different sensations within your body. One of the key things around anger management is to become aware of the things that trigger your anger. So the thoughts that you have about those things, your body's physical reaction, and what you do as a result of those thoughts and feelings. This is so that you can be aware of how you become angry and then how you can control it. There are various ways that you can control your anger. One way, if we're thinking about this bomb analogy, is to stop the match being lit in the first place. And we can do this by being aware of the triggers, so the match, which are personal to you, and find ways to reduce or avoid them, or think of strategies where you can cope with them. Another thing to do could be to lengthen the fuse. So if the match being lit is unavoidable, that trigger is going to happen. You can lengthen your fuse by challenging the way that you think and feel about the triggers. You can also lengthen it by putting in relaxation strategies so you don't explode. Another thing you could do is to dampen down the explosion if it happens. So if you feel angry, and remember, anger is a very normal human emotion, and often we have a right to feel angry, we could show other people that we're angry in an assertive manner, so you can get your point across in a controlled way. If you listened into part 1, you may remember that one thing that was suggested was to keep a diary which identified your thoughts, feelings and behaviours around times when you felt angry. It would also be helpful to identify what happened, so you begin to get a sense of the different things that make you angry, so what those triggers are. Triggers can take various forms. They may be situations or people, and knowing that they will wind you up in advance, or are likely to, may give you time to think about how you can manage if this happens, so that you can proactively respond to the triggers rather than react to them. It also may be that you see that you become angry when you're feeling stressed or tired or overwhelmed or anxious or haven't eaten recently, for some examples. And if you realise there's a bit of a pattern around that, perhaps you can think about whether there are things you could put in place to manage this. For example, making sure you have food available, or seeking help with assignments if schoolwork is feeling overwhelming. It may be that people make you angry, or particular people. Relationships that are important might leave you feeling unheard or overlooked. Practicing assertive skills, which we will look at later, can help to give you confidence in putting your own views across. It may also be that memories make you angry, situations that have happened in the past that you haven't been able to deal with properly. If that's the case, it might help to try and talk to someone you trust about this, for example, your counsellor at Centre 33, or mention this if you're ringing in to speak to our engagement and support team. More help is mentioned at the end of this presentation. So the first strategy is identifying the things that make you angry, the triggers. The next strategy is identifying and challenging thoughts that you might have around anger. Research has shown that when faced with images of strong emotional signals in adults over 25, the prefrontal cortex part of the brain lights up, which is the thinking part of the brain. However, in adolescence, so for those aged between 13 and 25, it's the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that's involved in the fight, flight or freeze response, which lights up. It is also found that when viewing a crowd of faces, young people who are anxious are far quicker to spot the angry face in the crowd. Finally, in another study, when shown pictures of angry or fearful faces, young people were more likely to incorrectly identify anxious faces as angry ones. The reason we've listed some of this research is just to highlight that there is a difference between what you are experiencing now than perhaps what you experienced when you were younger and what older people experience. And because of the brain changes that go on between 12 and 25, when you do detect threat in others, you might be more likely to go into a fight, flight or freeze response than people who are older than 25, who perhaps react to that with more the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of their brain. So there are changes around which may mean that you feel more angry and it may feel more out of your control, and this will change over time. Meanwhile, you can use some of the information to begin to challenge thoughts and ask yourself questions such as, is what I'm thinking about the trigger or the situation really true? Once you've identified your triggers and recognise that you are feeling angry, you can begin to challenge the thoughts. After events where you feel angry, you can reflect back on them and on what happened and challenge thoughts retrospectively. And this way you can begin to develop different ways of thinking about situations. On this slide, there are different types of what we call negative automatic thoughts, which can be associated with feeling angry. These are often also associated with low mood and anxiety. One type of negative automatic thought, which is very common, is overestimating danger. So seeing threat or angry faces where there isn't any. For example, if you're thinking that a group of boys who are a gang are going to fight me, when actually they're a group of Year 11s hanging out after school. Another very common negative automatic thought is generalising. So for example, thinking that person's hood is up, I feel threatened. All people with hoods up are hiding something. Another one is mind reading, so thinking, the way she looked at me, what's her problem? Is she thinking bad things about me? One strategy for looking at angry thoughts is beginning to notice them. Are there themes that come up in your diary? What sorts of thoughts are you having around feeling angry? On the right is a thought filter. When you do identify a thought, put it through a thought filter, reflecting on the different reasons the thought may be true or reasons that it may not be true. Does the thought that you have about a situation that makes you angry really reflect reality, or could there be another point of view? By beginning to catch and challenge your thoughts, you are giving yourself time and space before reacting. In this way, you are lengthening that fuse. Next, have a think about ways that you know that you are feeling angry physically. What are your tells, or what do you see in other people? How do you know that you're beginning to feel angry? What do you feel like when you are really angry? There are some examples of physical symptoms on the slide here. Notice what the difference between feeling angry and feeling calm is. After an angry event and you are no longer feeling furious, how are you left feeling? Has the anger gone and you feel calm, or is it feeling dormant and you could possibly easily be triggered again? These might include symptoms like tense shoulders, jaw being held clenched, brows knitted. Once you begin to identify your physical signs of feeling angry, particularly those early warning signs, you can begin to notice it building up. So perhaps it won't feel as though it arrives out of nowhere. There are also physical strategies you can use to relax, which we will talk about later. There's a phrase you may have heard of, which is the straw that broke the camel's back. And perhaps the last straw is a feeling just before an explosion of anger. One strategy for not getting to the big explosion is by recognising how anger builds up over time, perhaps throughout the day or week, so it has a cumulative effect where angry feelings are added on layer by layer until sometimes it feels as though relatively minor things tip us over into a big angry explosion. What we suggest through looking at diaries or just reflecting back, and this is especially the case if sometimes it feels like your anger may come out of nowhere, is when you think back over the events leading up to your feeling angry, is can you notice it building up? It could be a series of events like losing something in the morning and then missing the bus, and then a friend not reacting to you in the way that you want. Maybe feeling misunderstood by a teacher in another lesson, and then getting home and just feeling got at. Can you ever see a pattern of events building up that then leads to an explosion? One strategy around this is to try to separate these incidents out into individual events, and each time try, by a combination of challenging your thoughts and or thinking about relaxation techniques to release the angry feelings, is to try and bring down the angry build-up over time. By noticing that anger can build up throughout the day and resetting that each time, you may begin to feel more in control of those angry feelings. So next we're going to talk about some relaxation techniques that you can use. So on the slide here are some tips for dealing with anger, such as going for a walk, calling someone close to you, sitting by yourself, going to a safe place, walking away, doing something you enjoy. Have a think from these what has worked for you in the past. Are there occasions where you think you've successfully managed your anger? And if so, what did you do or what helped you in that situation? Think about how the different categories could work for you. If you're going to do something you enjoy, what would it be? If you need to find a safe place, where would that be and how would you get there? Have your anger management toolkit ready. You will notice in there that it may be good to have people you identify that you can speak to when you're feeling angry. Who can you call or talk to? We think about this as having a backup team. Think about who is in your backup team. Different people may have different ways that they can support you. Who can you call in the moment to calm down? Who could you call later to talk things through and think about problems or situations that may be causing you to feel angry? Who could you call if you just want to have fun and need a distraction from those angry feelings? Have a think about who could be in your backup team. Breathing exercises are a core component of any anger management work. They are simple, very effective, and can be used anywhere at any time. Deep breathing works by countering the fight or flight response, so our body's response to threat, which contributes to anger. It does this by regulating our central nervous system and distracting us from our thoughts. One way of practicing deep breathing is I'm going to show you a video now of doing box breathing. So hopefully you can see the idea with box breathing is to imagine you're drawing a box, to breathe in for 4 seconds, to hold your breath for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and to hold your breath for 4 seconds. The number of seconds you use can vary. So deep breathing should be used in the moment when you notice your anger growing. But like all of the skills we've discussed, practice is a must so that you know how to do it and also trust that it works when you need it. Plus, the positive effects of deep breathing can be long-lasting. There are other relaxation exercises you could try to help manage those angry feelings. These are 2 good relaxation exercises that we often use with the young people we work with. One is a progressive muscle relaxation exercise where you go around your body and tense and release the different muscle groups. This is a really good one for highlighting the difference between feeling tense and feeling relaxed. There are good scripts or YouTube videos about progressive muscle relaxation. We often recommend the organisation and website Anxiety Canada, but find one that works for you. It also works really well for managing anxious feelings, as it can help to distract your mind away from any unhelpful thoughts. In the moment, it may also be helpful to have a focusing, grounding technique to distract yourself and to support yourself in lengthening your fuse while giving yourself time to think before coming back. One technique to have to hand is the 5-4-3-2-1 activity, where you use each of your 5 senses, so looking around you and identifying 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Other ways of using your senses could be to list countries in alphabetical order or animals, counting back from 200, or simply repeating slowly, counting to a number you choose until you feel calmer. Researchers have found that catharsis, i.e. getting your anger out, for example punching a pillow, doesn't usually help with anger management overall. This is because you begin to associate that a way of managing anger is to hit something, and even though a pillow is better than a person, the next time you feel angry, your brain may have learned that the way to manage anger is to act out physically, so to punch something. What is recommended is that you try and find a different response to feeling angry. What else could you try to manage the angry feelings? What has worked for you in the past? Other ideas could be going for a run, so again, still doing something physical. Alternatives could be writing your feelings down and keeping on writing, drawing or scribbling it out on a piece of paper, listening to music that first matches your mood and then calms it down, and maybe setting up a Spotify playlist in advance for this. Playing a game online, although being mindful that it's a game that doesn't increase feelings of anger or frustration. Afterwards, think about whether your strategy helped you. Ones that may feel most effective are the ones that first match the angry feeling and then change it. So for example, listening to loud, upbeat music and then listening to calmer music. Running really fast and then perhaps going to a jog. Scribbling on some paper and then doing some detailed doodling, so that you feel that you can positively transform your anger. So how we relate to each other can be a huge source of feeling angry. It may be that we have become used to our own needs not being heard, and we might respond to that by either shouting louder, perhaps seen as aggression, by not doing anything, acting a bit more passively, or by doing something but not directly to the person or the thing that has made us feel angry. This might be a bit more passive aggressive. We can also behave in a way where we and the person we're communicating with think about each other's needs, as shown by the 3 bears. This is being more assertive. SpongeBob and his friend illustrate being passive and aggressive very well.
SpongeBob? Isn't it great to get the things you desire? Like that ice cream cone, for instance. You can have anything you want with a little training.
Training?
Yes, you just have to learn to be more assertive. And I can show you how.
Assertive, huh?
That's right.
Anything I want? Sounds great!
Wonderful. SpongeBob, don't let that guy sit on you. Assertiveness lesson number 1. Tell him to get off.
Excuse me, sir. You're sitting on my body, which is also my face.
No, be assertive.
Beep, beep.
Not insertive. SpongeBob, you missed your chance. You've got to be aggressive to get the things you want. You're too soft.
But I miss Butt.
Don't say it! There's the guy who took your ice cream. Don't you want it back?
Ice cream.
Listen, you. My friend's got something to say.
What? Who said that? Was it you?
Tell him off, SpongeBob. Assert yourself.
That's my ice cream cone.
Great. Now let him have it.
You can have it. Say thanks.
I'll show you how. Hey, pencil neck. You slither over here. Surrender that ice cream cone, or every waking moment for you will become a swirling torrent of pain and misery.
So, what is assertiveness? Assertiveness is a communication style that involves expressing yourself to others and standing up for yourself in a calm way while being respectful of other people. Being aggressive is shouting over or perhaps using sarcasm or any behaviour that puts your needs over the other person you're speaking to. It can be confused with being assertive, but being aggressive is where someone doesn't consider the needs of others. They get what they want in a more bulldozer type of way. If you find yourself being more aggressive in your communication style, it can be that we might have learnt that way over time, or learnt that that is the only way that other people will listen to us. People who are passive might often be people pleasers. People pleasers might work as a short-term strategy to build relationships with others. However, people who are passive in their relationships with others may spend a lot of time feeling angry because while they work so hard to please others, their own needs can often get overlooked. And so over time, they may start to feel taken advantage of. Therefore, in the long term, it can lead people to feeling angry about being overlooked or ignored. It can also affect your mood, as you may form relationships where your own needs aren't being met or expressed. It's important to practice asking for your needs and remembering that you have the right for your needs to be heard. Perhaps rehearse difficult conversations, practice being assertive, or observe someone that you admire who models that assertive behaviour, and think about how they can say what they want and need, but also manage to think of the other person's view. People who are naturally assertive probably had this behaviour modelled for them, which gives them the confidence to know that they can ask for what they want and need, as can you. We're now going to play a short TikTok which demonstrates different communication styles when it comes to splitting the bills in a restaurant. Hopefully this gives you an idea of the differences and how each of them could be used.
Are you two ready to order? Yes, I would love an order of the world famous coconut shrimp. And can you do the dip duo with the fire roasted salsa and the guacamole that you guys have? And then for lunch, I'll have the king salmon bowl, salad, dressing on the side. And then, I'm going to get some dessert, but we'll wait on that. And then, yes, if you could just give me a glass of rosé, that'd be great. And for you? Yeah, I'll take the chicken tortilla soup, please, and just the water. So good. Thank you. Would you like me to just split the check? Yeah, sure, you can split it. Sure. Really, Erica? You order half the kitchen while I got a soup and a water. Should we divide up your phone bill too? Okay. Actually, yeah, I ordered light because I'm on a budget, so I was wondering if you don't mind, can we just do separate checks this time? This place looks pricey. Hey, before we order, do you mind if we just do separate checks this time? I'm on a budget, so I'm probably going to order light. Are you two ready to order? Are you two ready to order?
Sorry about that. So longer term, there are self-care things that you can do to support yourself in reducing your angry feelings. Continual practice of relaxation techniques like the box breathing we looked at earlier can help. Other self-care tips could include exercise. This can be really useful as a way to release your anger through being physical in a way that doesn't harm yourself or others. Exercise also releases positive hormones in your body that can generally boost your mood. Getting enough sleep, having a balanced diet and drinking enough water are all really important types of self-care. Doing enough activities that you find enjoyable and or relaxing. Being creative, so for example writing, dancing, making music or art, or finding alternative ways to express your feelings. Talking about how you're feeling with a friend or family member or mental health professional can help you learn to verbalise how you're feeling, and they may also be able to provide alternative perspectives. Looking out for and noticing situations that you find usually trigger anger in you. Using problem solving if the anger is caused or triggered by problems that are going on in your life. This is where you can write all possible solutions to a potential problem down, to weigh them up, to see if they might or might not work or be useful, and then choose the best solution to try. Linking back to what we discussed earlier, I'm going to show you, oh, sorry about that. So linking back to what we talked about earlier, I'm going to show you a video now of a little girl who describes the feeling of anger building up and how she can't think when she's angry. However, she finds by engaging in activity, reading, she can begin to feel calmer over time.
I think I'm short-tempered because at times I could be, pretty calm and good-tempered, but like my brother, for instance, I'd be watching a program, I'd be very interested in it, and he's mad over sport, and he would want to change over, switch over to another channel to see sport, and that would really get me angry, because, I feel like, volcano where it just comes slowly up, the lava comes up and then bursts out like that. That's the way I'd feel. I'd really burst out on him. I'd start shouting at him and everything, and he'd shout back at me. But I'd really feel very angry.
But when this volcano starts inside of you, can't you stop it?
No, definitely not. I couldn't. I just can't really control my anger. It really comes up. If it starts, there's no stopping it really.
Well, when you flare up like this, when you get angry, like a volcano, how long does it last?
Say, my mother would come in after about a few minutes, and then I'd run up to my bedroom and work it off there.
How do you mean work it off?
I try and read. I couldn't really take it in. I'd look over the words, but that's about all. And then gradually get more interested in the story, and gradually then my temper would go down, and then I'd feel a bit more calmer. And then if I go down for my tea, my brother then teased me for being angry, and then I'd get angry again.
So if you need further support with your mental health, we would always encourage you to reach out to someone, whether that's a trusted adult in your family or community, or one of the people or organisations on the slide here. So these people could include your GP, so that's your doctor, the pastoral or wellbeing team at your school or college or university. The organisation Kooth provides online mental health information, tips and support. The Mix provides online information and support for young people's mental health. Young Minds is a website with information and advice specifically about young people's mental health. The Kite Trust is an organisation that supports young people specifically around gender and sexuality. Beat is a national charity which supports people around eating problems and eating disorders. And Keep Your Head is a website with information and tips around mental health and wellbeing and signposting to both local and national services. And of course, you can always get in touch with us at Centre 33. So we can support with a wide range of practical issues and emotional needs. So whether it's having a one-off chat about something as and when you need it, or having more ongoing support, we can help with a range of things, including mental health, housing, employment, money, sexual health, and young carers. You can contact us Monday to Friday, 12 to 5, or Saturdays, 10 till 1, or leave a message outside those times. You can call us, text or WhatsApp, or email, We also have reopened some of our drop-ins, so do check out our website for our latest locations and opening times. So that's the end of the talk. Thank you all for listening today, and we hope you found it helpful.